our guests on the dais of India Economic Conclave 2021. The 7th edition is the one and only Mr. Piyush Goyal. Mr. Piyush Goyal, how do you juggle the demands of these various ministries as diverse as dealing with the farm laws, the agitation of the farmers on the one side, and inviting investments into India from countries as diverse as America, Australia, or Europe?
Navika ji, at the outset, let me compliment Times Now for getting us back into this room after a year. It's the first time I've come here after a year. A room which at one point of time I think we would visit almost every week. But great to see a physical in-person program. And I saw the very impressive lineup of speakers through the last 2 days. And must compliment Times Now for helping rejuvenate that enthusiasm and excitement that India is palpably feeling in terms of economic revival, in terms of getting back into action. And this India Economic Conclave, I'm sure, will set the tone for the next fiscal in a very positive manner.
So, Mr. Piyush Goyal, are you saying the animal spirit has been brought back better by Times Now than by the government?
Well, you look at it as animal spirits. We look at it as positive energy and dynamism and enthusiasm and the building blocks on which the rest of you can create the animal spirits. I don't think the government has to demonstrate that spirit. That spirit is in the people of India. It's in the businesses in India. The government can at best be a facilitator. Government can at best make things easier for all the stakeholders. And in that sense, the government has done, to my mind, under Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's very, very visionary outlook for the future, a phenomenal job. The budget or the series of budgets that came out in the last 1 year in terms of step after step, announcement after announcement, proactively dealing with the situation as it emerged, have demonstrated to the world that India means business. India is a trusted partner. India's resilience can be seen in every walk of life. And I have no doubt in my mind that going forward, India will be a very solid pillar on which world economic revival and economic growth will happen.
Mr. Piyush Goyal, when we spoke in June last year, you said that the government was keeping a close watch on Chinese investment in Indian companies. Are you continuing to do that, or has the disengagement process also meant a reversal of our stand on investments from China?
I don't think the two things were linked in any way directly. The effort was to make sure that desirable investment comes into India, money which can be very clearly identified, money that we can have a full knowledge about its source, about what kind of companies are investing. And since some of the investments coming in from our land bordering countries also were associated to military activity or military ownership, directly or indirectly, I think it was in the strategic interests of India to know exactly where the money comes from. When you're dealing with opaque economies, it's very important to be very careful and to keep a watchful eye. Wherever you're dealing with very transparent financial markets, financial systems, like you see in Europe or in UK or in the US, Canada, Australia, the systems themselves are so robust and transparent that you need not worry about them.
On a day when the Prime Minister is in Bangladesh, I want to ask you this question. China has the Belt and Road Initiative, and even friends like Bangladesh are a part of this. How is a country like Bangladesh, which has China as its largest trading partner and not India, when you say that, you know, India has this great relationship with the countries that it shares borders with?
Well, clearly, Prime Minister Modi has had a continuous engagement and outreach with all our neighbors. You know, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji had once famously remarked that you can choose your friends, but you cannot choose your neighbors. And I think all your viewers will recall that in the very first swearing-in ceremony way back in 2014, for the first time ever, India and Prime Minister Modi had invited all the heads of state of SAARC countries to participate in the swearing-in of the new government. It was a big message given out. And ever since then, we have been working relentlessly to build up stronger relations with all our neighboring countries. I think the effort that was required to develop more competitiveness, bring more value to the products and services that we can offer to our neighbors, the process has been ongoing. It has helped us expand our trade with countries like Bangladesh. And I have the confidence that going forward, we'll be in a position to overtake China in their engagement with Bangladesh. We are working with that single-minded purpose. And our industry has the ability, our service sector has the confidence. We in government are also proposing several initiatives, some of which will be discussed during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Bangladesh. And we don't grudge any country their engagement with anybody else. I think we focus on what we can do with that country better.
Mr. Piyush Goyal, in the first 9 months of this financial year, 2021, we've seen a robust FDI of 67 billion coming in. I want to ask you, how are we going to end this entire year in terms of FDI? And has the pandemic had any impact, and how are we looking at the next fiscal as far as FDI is concerned?
Well, clearly on FDI, it will be a record year, despite COVID, and despite the fact that all international statistics suggest that foreign investments across the world are going to significantly fall in current months. In fact, 2020, it fell significantly from previous levels. India was amongst the rare countries which saw growth in FDI, even in the calendar 2020 or fiscal 2021. India provides a very good investment destination, a large market of 135 crore Indians aspiring for a better quality of life. So, and an enabling environment in which investors are enjoying both good returns on their investment, large market, and also helping India in its development objectives. Therefore, in terms of FDI, I have absolutely no doubt it will be a record FDI.
So are you saying that politics is no longer your agenda as far as economics is concerned, or is economics always a result of the politics?
If I recall correctly, in this very room, in your program, I have said this before, that there always was a notion in India that good economics does not make for good politics. I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi consistently proven year after year that good economics makes for good politics also. The people of India are smart. The people of India understand what's good for them. The people of India see the intention of the leader, see the honesty of purpose of the leader, see his commitment, see his hard work to make India once again regain that lost glory. And therefore, good economics with a good intention will certainly make for good politics.
I'm asking, India has gone through bad times on the economic front now for at least a couple of years, if not more. And if you listen to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, then since the time demo was brought in 2016, Achhe Din actually went out of the window. Mr. Piyush Goyal, I want to ask you, as do many of our viewers and citizens of India want to ask you, when are we going to turn the corner?
First of all, we are an ancient nation. We are a nation very proud of our rich culture, our heritage. हम तो राम राज्य के समय से इस देश में अपने विरासत के ऊपर गर्व करते हैं. तो जहाँ तक एंशिएंट नेशन या एक बहुत ही विख्यात देश होने की बात है, तो हमारे लिए गर्व की बात है. और आज पूरा देश चाहता है कि पूरे देश में राम राज्य की तरह काम हो, सरकारें चले, और वही काम पे हम लगे. ये बात अलग है कि मैंने जब यंग नेशन का मैंने उसको साथ में कैविएट किया था. I said young nation in terms of our global engagement, in terms of our coming out of the economic cussedness to try and engage with the world with reciprocity and as equals. Numbers tell a story. Sentiment gives you the confidence. और जहाँ तक राहुल गांधी जी की बात है, उनके लिए अच्छे दिन तो शायद पता नहीं कहाँ जाते हैं, मुझे इतना डिटेल नहीं मालूम. हमारे लिए जब उस माता के घर में शौचालय आता है, हमारी बहन के घर में कुकिंग गैस कनेक्शन आता है, हमारे लिए तो वो अच्छे दिन है.
Well, on that optimistic note, with the Commerce, Industries, Food and Railways Minister telling us that opportunity is knocking on India's doors, this is possibly the best message we can take home from this India Economic Conclave. Thank you very much, Mr. Piyush Goyal, for joining us physically here at a function that is being held on the ground for the first time in 12 months. Thank you,
Navika ji. It's been a real pleasure. And I can see you've maintained social distancing. You put in the plexiglass. You ensured everybody is wearing a mask in the audience. I don't see one person who's without a mask. Compliments to you. Please spread this message as far and wide as you can.
Responsible citizen is the way we want to go forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Goyal. I have great pleasure in introducing my guest on the India Economic Conclave 2021, the one and only Mr. Hardeep Puri, Civil Aviation Minister. He's the Minister for Urban Development as well as Minister of State for Commerce. So what should I say, many hats or many pagdis that you wear at any given point in time. But because this is an economic conclave, I want to ask you one question. COVID has been especially harsh on the sector of civil aviation, in the sense that people were not traveling. The entire lockdown, which had affected every other sector, had affected the civil aviation sector. Are you seeing any sights of a sunrise in this sector of civil aviation?
Navika, thank you very much. The pandemic has affected all sectors. Civil aviation stands out as a sector which got its act together, and the government was able to use the lockdown in order to do some essential things required to deal with the pandemic. You flew in 1,500 tons of medical supplies from outside India, flew 943 tons of medical supplies within the countries, ventilators, etc. Then you had, we were told initially, 190,000 Indians stranded outside. That was the figure that my friend Mr. Jaishankar was working on, based on what the missions had told him. We started Vande Bharat operations, and today Vande Bharat has carried 68 lakh people, 6.8 million. Out of which Air India alone has carried something like, I think, 2.5 million or thereabouts. Domestic traffic, which was closed totally, but for the second wave of the pandemic, and you and I in our conversations will recall, I was saying that ultimately it depends on the behavior of the virus. If we had not seen the virus in some variation rearing its ugly head again, I would have opened up domestic civil aviation 100% by 1st April in the summer schedule. It's been delayed a bit. I always regarded domestic civil aviation for purposes of opening up 100%. I took the figure at 350,000 a day. When we closed down, it was a complete close down. We started on 25th May with 30,000 a day. We had reached 313,000. It was just that last couple of inches which we had to close.
And we are back to square one.
No, we are not back to square one. Today's figure I just saw before I came to see you, 244,000. Now, what is this due to? Two issues. Many states insisting on RT-PCR tests at the point of entry, and people who would normally travel for purposes of recreation or holiday, having a little doubt. And there was some misbehavior at the airports and in the airlines. So I called my DGCA and the Secretary of Civil Aviation and I said, crack the whip. People have paid for the ticket. They will, if they don't wear a mask, if they don't do social distancing, just offload them. And we will invoke the CARs and get away with it. It has had an effect. I already see changes. Same thing in Delhi Metro, for which I am responsible. So I'm coming to my overall thing. The total revival of the sector in terms of domestic aviation has been opening up, has been delayed by 15, 20 days. I expect the second wave of the pandemic to peak in the next week or 10 days. And once you reach the peak and etc., it comes down and your growth figures will go up. If it's 244,000 yesterday, it'll go up to about 270, 280. We can predict these things, making allowances for Tuesdays when people don't like to travel and so on. I think civil aviation has been one of the more remarkable success stories during the pandemic. And the reason is that we were able to take some measures like the price band. Today, the lower band is just marginally higher than a second-class AC ticket. So if you have a choice of traveling between Delhi and Mumbai, second-class AC and pay 3,000 rupees and 3,500 by air, I think the choice is obvious.
I want to ask you, is it a matter of coincidence that one party or one company wins bids for 6 airports together?
Madam, those 6 don't add up to even 9%. I have looked at the bids.
You're not answering the question, you're changing the question.
No, I'm
and answering what is convenient to you.
No, it's a bit convenient. We don't go and grant them the airport. There's a bid. Navika can bid, your other competitors can bid, and it's a transparent system. Like, for instance, we had an issue with one of the airports in Kerala. The Kerala government participated in that. And they said, if we are able to bid within 10% of the lowest bid, so if the lowest bid is, let's say, X, and we have 10% there, we should be given right of first refusal. We agreed to that. Now, we cannot determine what you are going to bid. Why did that entity win all 6? I've tried to understand it. Very simple. If you look at the bids, they're very much, in one case, the difference is 3%. In the other case, it's 14%, it's 21%. Because if you decide that I'm going to bid for 6 together, there are economies of scale. You have the same consultant working for 6 of them. Whereas if you decide to go for 1, you are incurring the same cost. Whereas he's doing, well, look, he got those 6. There was no stipulation that you could not get more than X number. When it came to Jewar, the same person who got those 6 airports lost out. So this is what the marketplace and transparent bidding.
Then why does Mr. Rahul Gandhi make a crony capitalist charge against your government? Because they say that you favor only 2 industrial houses.
पहली बात तो ऐसी है, कोई industrial house किसी सरकार का नहीं होता. I mean, that's a little I know. I've been in public life now for a while. I spent 39 years in the foreign service. I've served in Japan, the United States, UK. To say that somebody is some political party's udyogpati, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. So let's put that aside. As long as you said crony capitalism charge, the 3 C's. I come back to my CCP, confused Congress politician. Things for which they should be taking the credit, they're giving us the credit. We're quite happy to take it. They did it for the vaccine also. Arey, ye to BJP vaccine, somebody said. I turned around and said, hey, wait a minute here. ICMR, Dr. Balram Bhargav, the entire health and scientific community, our vaccine manufacturers, guys who've done world-class job, and you want to give the BJP the credit, we're happy to take it. Then this vaccine is not safe. You know, I think this CCP charge of confusion, and I see it every day now.
Mr. Hardeep Puri, as far as Air India's privatization is concerned, it's on the budget this year that it has to be concluded. We've seen in the past, it hasn't been very successful. This time around, already people are turning around and saying, oh, the government will force somebody to buy it if there are no bids. How do you look at it? Because there is no word on the timeline for Air India's privatization.
Well, let me utilize the hospitality you are supplying me. Yesterday there was a meeting, I don't know what it's called, there are several layers, but they've decided that the financial bids have to come in within 64 days. You know what that means?
Okay.
The financial bid will be in, let's say, April, sometime
June.
May. I don't know what 64 days calculated from when. I don't have the exact figures with me. This was my briefing last night. Earlier attempts at privatization were not successful because those attempts were half-hearted. What the previous governments have done, I have no thing, but we learned...
In your government itself, there have been no bidders.
One attempt, but that was before the 2019 election, where we said that we will disinvest 76%, retain 24%. Now, I was not the minister then, and I don't know what went into it. Maybe they were feeling inhibited just prior to a national election. Maybe there wasn't the application. This time we decided there is no choice. We either privatize or we close the airline down. We run a loss of 20 crores every day. And this in spite of the fact that Air India is actually making money now, because the mismanagement had resulted in cumulated debt, Navika ji, of 60,000 crores. To service that debt, and I can tell you, I don't have the capacity to keep going to Nirmala ji and saying, please give a little more money. We have decided Air India will be disinvested. We have to keep it running till it gets disinvested. We are looking at another timeline. Now, what is it called, that data room for the prospective bidders to look at, that has opened up. 64 days, I think, for
financial bids to come in.
And after that, it's a question of taking a decision and handing over the airline. And by the way, you said that government will force somebody to take it. What is that margin of persuasion we have to tell somebody to take it away? I mean, I'm not aware of anything. People will buy the airline or have shown interest because it's a first-rate national asset. And if you clear the decks and run it afresh and you bring modern management, avoid the mistakes of the past, it will still remain Air India, but it will be in the hands of somebody who knows how to run an airline.
Well, targets are important, and when governments and political parties begin to think that economics is more important than politics, then as a country, we are on the right path to growth. Thank you very much, Mr. Hardeep Puri, for joining me on this special session at the India Economic Conclave.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Navika. But I think the core message of the Modi government is that good governance and good economics also makes for good politics. I had predicted 300 for you in the last election, and we're getting the rest of the story right, so one day I'll make a prediction of what's going to happen in the next one. But thank you very much.
Well, I'll take you up on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Hardeep Puri.